Play you a song, but I will give you a little bit of some advice. There's been a number of requests based on a caller to Swap Shop. And by the way, did we give the book away or not? We did. Okay. And there's been a number of questions based on a call to the Swap Shop that I do a program on ammunition. I'm going to do one with a gentleman recommended by Todd Rathner on the board of the NRA, who's the editor of handgun cartridge or of firearm cartridges of the world. So I'm going to do a whole hour on that book about cartridges. However, at the request of some listeners, a lot of people have been saying, "Well, what should you have in your gun cabinet?" It's like that ad for the MasterCard. Hey, buddy, what's in your wallet? What's in your gun cabinet? And we're going to talk about that. This is going to be an interactive half an hour. So if folks have any individual questions about what guns they ought to buy, about how much ammo they ought to have, I'll address those things in this half hour. But if you have a specific question, feel free to call in and ask me right now at 790-2040. Also, this is your last couple hours to get down to the gun show. It's at TCC this weekend. And if you want to get in there, there's not a whole lot of ammo left, but there's still plenty of firearms. Most of the people who listen to this program probably already have firearms. Maybe not. I'm getting a lot of callers, first-time people. I even got a call from a legislator that wanted to get started, and it's pretty interesting. Now, first and most important is that you have, when it comes to selecting a firearm, you have what fits you and what's comfortable for you to shoot, because it's axiomatic that if you don't like the gun you own, or it hurts you every time you fire it, you will have a great disincentive to use it and practice with it. Now, you don't have to practice thousands and thousands of rounds of shooting. And frankly, if you practice properly in your home without ammunition, you should be able to get a lot of value out of the practice. You should first learn how your gun works and to use the grips. First of all, find one that fits your hand. Find one that's comfortable, and when you shoot it, it doesn't hurt your hand. And if it does, consider, if it's a handgun, changing the grips. One of the things you can get on a revolver is called a Tyler grip adapter. Sometimes if you have a little .38 revolver, what we call a snub-nose revolver. It's a gun with a barrel of 2 inches or less, sometimes 1 inch and 7/8. We call them snub-nose. They're called snub-nose revolvers. In the gun world, they call them snubbies. So sometimes you'll hear that term, a snubby. They mean a short-barreled revolver, usually a 5-shooter, but not always. And if you got one of those, and it's got a very small grip on it, when you go to shoot it, the gun comes backwards in recoil in your hand. And because the grips are pretty small on those revolvers, the back of the trigger guard hits your middle finger, because your index finger is in the trigger. The back of the trigger guard comes back and hits your middle finger, and it's painful. And it's a real disincentive to practice when every time the gun goes bang, you say, ouch. So, as a result, you can get something called a Tyler grip adapter, and it fills that little gap behind the trigger guard so that when the gun comes backwards in recoil, it doesn't hit your hand. I should say it doesn't hit your center finger. That's one little thing you can do. There's also a company that makes grips called Pachmayr, and there's also another one called Hogue. There's a number of other companies. Safariland makes grips that you can change the ergonomics of the grip so that the gun you have fits you better. And a gun show is a great place to go because a lot of times they have this stuff used at many booths down there. Anyway, find something that fits your hand. When it comes to buying, to stocking up, to having enough ammunition, my recommendation to you is that if anything goes seriously wrong in society, or the availability of ammunition becomes constricted, that you have at least 1,000 rounds per gun. Doesn't matter what gun you have. And 1,000 rounds, at least of most ammo, will pretty much fit in one little 50 caliber ammo can. That's not true if you have 38 and it's in boxes, but you can fit a good 400 rounds of ammunition in one ammo can. One 50 caliber ammo can is about $10 for the can, and it's a great way to store ammunition in the can. And it's also pretty portable. So if you have 2 cans completely full of 38, you'll be approaching 1,000 rounds of ammo. That is a reasonable quantity of ammo per gun to have. Now, obviously, if stuff goes wrong societally, and you have to move, you're not going to be moving 10,000 or 20,000 rounds of ammunition, not unless you have it already packed and secured and hidden well inside of whatever vehicle you're going to travel in. That's unlikely, and I don't really see things happening like that. I could be wrong. wrong. But I think it's reasonable to have 1,000 rounds of ammunition in an ammo box per firearm you own, or 10,000 rounds per caliber. Now, the reason I say that is because if something were to go wrong in society and the sales of ammunition got shut off, you would have enough to last you, hopefully, for the rest of your life and through any crisis that might occur. When you select firearms, it's a really good idea to select the same type of firearms that go with each other. For instance, I'll give you a for instance. If you buy a .357 Magnum revolver, or there's some semi-automatics, not many, but there's some semi-automatics that shoot the .357 round, most of them will also shoot .38. .38 and .357 don't sound the same, but they are the same with one exception. A .357 round is a 1/16 of an inch. The brass casing on the round is a 1/16 of an inch longer. Ergo, the larger, or the name Magnum, there's more powder in it, and it makes the bullet go faster. But remember that when the bullet goes faster out the front, it causes more recoil action to the shooter. And a .357, although a more powerful cartridge, is also harder to tame the recoil, and for those people who are recoil averse, it will be harder to shoot. It also recovers more slowly for a second, third, fourth, or fifth, sixth, or sixth shot. So, or if you have a Smith & Wesson Performance Center, and seventh and eighth shot. So, whatever. But it's a good idea to have utility. For instance, one of the things that are not perceived as bad guy stuff are these old cowboy-looking lever-action rifles. Just if you've ever seen a John Wayne movie, the one with the big handle, the big loop handle, well, they make them with both big and small loop handles on them in many different calibers. A rifle in a pistol caliber makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. For instance, I own a .44 Magnum lever-action rifle and a .44 Magnum pistol, a revolver. And they both take the same cartridge. That makes a lot of sense. Because now, if you want to shoot a little farther away, the longer barrel of the rifle allows you a longer sight radius. Sight radius is the distance between the rear sight and the front sight. And the longer the sight radius is, the more accurate you can be with shooting, which is why that cartridge will work to 100, that .44 mag rifle will work to 100 yards, probably even to 150 fairly effectively, whereas with the pistol, you'd be lucky to shoot at 50 yards, not because the bullet won't go that far, but because the shooter is probably not capable, most shooters are not capable of shooting a pistol 50 yards or beyond it. So it's a good idea to have some utility, some interchangeability in your guns. Now, there are also pistols that are made in .223 caliber. So if you have an AR being the civilian version of the Colt AR-15. The M16 is our military rifle. The AR-15 is the civilian version, which is a semi-automatic version. It's not an assault rifle. It's the anti-freedom bigots will try to confuse you and call it a semi-automatic assault rifle. Well, that's like having a semi-automatic transmission. I guess Volkswagen made one where you could shift from first to second gear without the clutch. They called it the automatic stick shift. But it's a misnomer. It's either an assault weapon or it's not. The Department of Defense defines an assault weapon as one that is select fire. In other words, you can select fully automatic. And these rifles are one pull of the trigger. That's the difference between semi-automatic and full automatic. Fun. No, I'm only kidding. The difference is one pull of the trigger with semi-auto, one shot, one pull of a machine gun. You get all of them or until it's empty or until it jams. That's the difference between semi-automatic and fully automatic. We're talking about a semi-automatic gun. And you can get a rifle that also has a pistol that shoots the same caliber. There's great utility.